As I lay on the operating table, ready to give up the hard-won child I shared with my husband, he was at another hospital, accompanying a different woman to her prenatal checkup. I lay on the steel-cold operating table, knees braced in the stirrups, paper gown crackling every time I breathed. One signature and a syringe were supposed to erase my mistake, my shame, my child. Then the lights went out. Pitch black. The clink of instruments stilled. A nurse's voice rose thin and tight. Power failure. Bringing the backup online. In the darkness, time stretched and snapped. My pulse rattled in my ears. Footsteps hushed past the soundproof door. A man's voice followed. Velvet soft, careful, absurdly tender. Don't be scared. It's just a routine checkup. Breathe, Emily. Victor Sinclair, my husband, who was supposed to be in another state charming board members through a merger. Not here. Not speaking like that. Mr. Sinclair, you're so considerate, escorting Mrs. Sinclair every visit, a doctor gushed. Ma'am, your baby's doing beautifully. Listen to that heartbeat. Victor's reply was a warm hum. Thank you for taking good care of them, Dr. Warren. Them. The word drove an iron spike through my gut. Heat flared. Then a deep, mean cramp folded me in two. 3 years of marriage, and Victor could barely stomach touching me. On the rare nights he did, he'd press a glass of water into my hand and say I was too frail for a baby. Vitamins to keep me strong. I swallowed everyone. I believed him. Turns out I was the disguise. The pills were the lock on my body, and he kept the key. The lights blazed back, white and cruel. The surgeon's eyes, everything else hidden behind her mask, went clinical and kind. Ms. Summers, you're very pale. Are you sure? My throat seized around the rigid bite block. Tears scorched my temples. I forced my fists open. Half moons of blood showed in my palms. I can't. The words rasped out, shredded and small. I pushed again, louder. I'm keeping the baby. The room froze. Ms. Summers. But I was already fighting upright. Pain lanced my abdomen, but it was far away. A star going supernova somewhere else in the galaxy. I slid off the table, legs rubber and ice, and felt my way to the door. The hallway's fluorescence burned after the blackout. I held the wall. I kept moving. I followed the voices. At the end of the corridor, outside the ultrasound room, Victor stood in a dark gray suit like he'd been poured into it. Emily leaned against him, the soft flare of an off-white maternity dress haloing her belly. One hand cupped the curve of her child, the other clung to his sleeve. Sunlight spilled through the window and glossed them in gold. I had never seen Victor's gaze like that. Melted, careful, possessive. Something hot and sour surged up my throat. I lurched to a trash can and retched, tears and snot and humiliation slicking my face. They turned. Victor's expression snapped from tender to carved stone. Shock flickered. Then the quick, guilty panic of a man caught with blood on his hands. Helen! He stepped toward me, voice dropping into the command he used at board tables. What are you doing here? You had surgery scheduled. His eyes skimmed my flimsy gown. Displeasure deepened the line between his brows. You're white as paper. Where's your doctor? He reached for me. Don't touch me. My voice cracked like a whip. I flinched from his hand as if it were a flame. A fresh cramp twisted me in half. Cold sweat burst across my skin. Victor's jaw ticked. Don't make a scene. This is a hospital. A scene? I forced myself upright, legs trembling, spine iron. I pointed at Emily, who had gone pale and protective